Madam Secretary, please begin.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street. Today is Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones and beepers. I will now call the roll. Chairman Weisbrod.
Here.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Besser.
Here.
Commissioner Cantor.
Here.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Delaus.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck.
Here.
Commissioner Edie.
Here.
Commissioner Efron.
Here.
Commissioner Knight.
Here.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, January 20th, 2016.
On the minutes, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes are approved.
Scheduling. On calendar number 1 and supplemental calendar number 1, we have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, February 24, 2016, for a public hearing to be held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street.
On the resolutions, may I have a motion
So
to
moved.
approve?
Second.
That was very quick. I think I heard a second, but all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolutions are approved, Madam Secretary.
The next part of the calendar is the report section on page 2. Citywide, calendar number 2, N160051ZRY, in the matter of an application for an amendment of the zoning resolution concerning the mandatory inclusionary housing for a favorable report as modified, excuse me, on calendar number 2. Chairman Weisbrod.
Good morning. I'd like to make a statement. Today marks the culmination of many, many months of research, outreach, and hard work by the amazing city planning staff working very closely with our colleagues at the Department of Housing Development and Preservation, and so many others in city government to support Mayor de Blasio's extraordinary affordable housing plan through smarter zoning. Today's votes on mandatory inclusionary housing and zoning for quality and affordability, or MIH and ZQA, as we've affectionately come to know them, is not only a major milestone for the mayor's housing plan and for the city, but it is a testament to the dedication of many people throughout this great city. And I don't just mean the staff members who have given thousands of hours to these important changes. I will address each of the two text amendments separately as we vote on them, but first, I'd like to say a few words on the importance of what we are doing and the seriousness with which the Commission and the public has addressed these mandatory, these issues. Mandatory inclusionary housing and zoning for quality and affordability are integral parts of Housing New York, an ambitious and comprehensive set of initiatives to help our city create and preserve 200,000 units of affordable housing over 10 years, including affordable housing for our rapidly growing population of senior citizens. MIH and ZQA work together with numerous other elements of the plan. Overall, the city has committed $8.2 billion over 10 years to subsidize affordable housing for New Yorkers, including housing for people making as little as $18,150. That is double what was deployed on affordable housing in the previous decade and will produce more than quadruple the amount of housing at the very lowest incomes. But we want to make sure that our precious tax dollars are spent as wisely and efficiently as possible. We also want to assure that as opportunities for housing increase, our neighborhoods retain the economic diversity and the quality of life that our residents demand and deserve. We want to reflect the values that New Yorkers have embraced and cherished for almost 4 centuries. In addition to the unprecedented capital dollars the city is allocating to subsidizing affordable housing, it is beefing up its anti-displacement efforts to protect tenants in existing affordable housing. We are working in several neighborhoods in all 5 boroughs where we think housing capacity can increase, but doing so in a careful, comprehensive, and pioneering way through ground-up planning and engagement with local residents. We at the Department of City Planning are not simply looking at rezoning, but at a vast array of approaches to making neighborhoods more livable and to assure that the public investments needed in these neighborhoods are made. We are doing so working closely and collaboratively with our sister agencies. In this regard, the city has committed $1 billion to a unique neighborhood development fund that will be deployed exclusively in these neighborhoods for the public investments and infrastructure that will be required as the neighborhoods grow. The fund will assure that promises made to neighborhoods will be kept. This $1 billion is in addition to the more than $8 billion the city is devoting to subsidizing affordable housing itself. But even beyond that, the Department of City Planning is now working closely with the Office of Management and Budget on the development of the city's 10-year capital plan so that our capital program reflects not only our budgetary constraints and opportunities, but our planning needs as well. This harkens back to the days 40 years ago when city planning and OMB were jointly responsible for the development of the city's capital budget. So these important matters before us today, MIH and ZQA, should be seen in the context of the larger approach the city is taking to addressing our acute housing needs and indeed the city's future more generally. Even before the formal start of the public review process, the planning department staff started meeting with communities, offering to meet with all community boards. We ultimately met with almost every community board in the city, frequently several times, to discuss these proposals, listen to neighborhoods, and make changes. The commission held a public hearing on December 16th of last year that brought people out in large numbers, and we listened to each and every person who was there to speak for 13 straight hours. I thank all of my colleagues on the commission, all the commissioners, for their commitment, their attentiveness, and their stamina. We heard thoughtful analysis from community members, elected officials, people who build not-for-profit affordable housing and affordable housing for seniors, and academics. We also read extensive written submissions, letters, and recommendations, and discussed the proposals at great length. We have weighed the issues and acknowledged the trade-offs. We have made adjustments to the proposals so that we believe that they will address our acute affordable housing needs while enhancing the quality of life in neighborhoods throughout the city. Now let me turn to the first item before us today, mandatory inclusionary housing. The mandatory inclusionary housing program would require a share of new housing, 25 or 30%, in specified areas to be set aside as permanently affordable to low and moderate income households. By requiring developers to build affordable housing in connection with new development where mapped, the city can secure a new stock of permanently affordable housing while assuring a neighborhood will be economically diverse. This will bring new affordable housing to neighborhoods where it otherwise wouldn't be built and act as a cushion against potential gentrification of communities caused by broad demographic trends we are seeing in so many neighborhoods, simultaneously freeing up city funds to provide even more deeply affordable housing at lower rents where economic need is great. MIH will preserve and promote the economic diversity of our neighborhoods, creating opportunities for residents with a range of incomes. MIH will stabilize neighborhoods by permanently protecting the affordability of a significant amount of housing. Its provisions will enable the city to relieve the stress on thousands of rent-burdened households and protect lower-income families from displacement in the event that neighborhoods change. The mandatory inclusionary housing proposal before us today is citywide enabling legislation, meaning that it establishes a framework for permanent affordable housing that will be applied in individually mapped areas as significant new housing capacity is approved through rezonings of medium and high-density neighborhoods, whether through the city's neighborhood planning initiatives or through private land use applications. It will also be applied when special permits or other discretionary actions significantly increase housing capacity. MIH is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Its options enable it to serve a range of household incomes. Each application of MIH would be subject to its own public review as applications that significantly increase housing capacity come before us. Most importantly, the affordable housing would be mandatory and permanent, and it would be the most rigorous such program of any major city in the country. MIH is an important tool within the broader housing plan. It is a powerful tool in combination with HPD subsidies and financing mechanisms, which are being harnessed to finance thousands of additional affordable apartments, many of which will house low-income families in 100% affordable buildings. So MIH will act as a floor, not a ceiling, on affordability, and it will provide permanent protection to a significant share of new housing units in the neighborhoods where it is mapped, not only today, but for decades to come, indeed permanently. Now, with respect to the MIH proposal before us today, the modifications the Commission is voting on incorporate improvements to the BSA special permit provisions of the program, underscoring and enhancing the important role HPD will play in the BSA's review of hardship applications. This will ensure that this provision serves its limited function, which is to provide relief in rare cases of genuine hardship caused specifically by the MIH requirements. The Commission's modifications also incorporate a number of clarifications to the text. In addition, HPD and DCP believe that the text should reflect the commitment HPD made before the Commission to reserve funds generated by payments in lieu for use within the same community district for at least 10 years, after which they may be used only elsewhere in the borough. This commitment was to be memorialized in the HPD rules governing the in lieu component of the program, but we urge the City Council to make this change in the text itself. This historic proposal is the product of many dedicated DCP staff members, chiefly Howard Slatkin, Anita Lehrman, Eric Kober, John Mangin, Jen Gravel, Bob Debruskin, Evelyn Kakar, and as always, our amazing Executive Director, Purnima Kapoor, and many, many more I wish I had the time to name. This has been truly a department-wide effort. For HPD, our invaluable partner in this endeavor, we are deeply, deeply indebted to its incomparable Commissioner Vicki Bean and her ACE staff led by Louise Carroll, Matt Murphy, and David Quart. I vote enthusiastically yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Thank you. First, I want to associate myself with all of the chair's remarks. They reflect, in large part, my sentiments. I also want to salute the mayoral administration and, again, the chair, and certainly the Department of City Planning for all of its grueling work. It is one thing to advocate for affordable housing. It is quite another to implement the rules and regulations that make it possible. I believe the time is at hand for the city to address this pressing problem of affordability in a very significant way. I don't believe it can be done incrementally on a block-by-block basis. I believe it requires a broad and comprehensive approach. I also want to salute the community boards and the borough presidents, some of whom complained about the breadth of this undertaking and how complex it was. But I can say that we received very substantive feedback from community boards and the borough presidents across the city. They certainly did their homework, and it certainly helped to inform my own approach about this. I think the underlying question in zoning text changes is whether or not they enhance the city's economy and further the city's livability. I believe that both of these amendments do that, and it is with a good conscience I vote yes.
Commissioner Besser.
No.
Okay. Commissioner Cantor.
I've been on, excuse me, I've been on this commission, I think, 19 years. I don't think, in my memory, we have had the depth of study, the depth of effort from this commission, as well as the communities which represented themselves and made themselves heard very well. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of myself and the Borough President, I want you to be aware of the significant amount of time, effort, and decision-making that went into this on behalf of the borough. At the end of the day, it is the Borough President's belief, as well as the communities at large in Queens, that much has been done to improve these applications since the first time they came in. However, there's still some items which are of concern to the community and of concern to the Borough President. And until they are resolved, perhaps with the help of City Council, I will vote no.
Commissioner Cerullo?
Every application we consider impacts individuals or communities in a very personal way. Whether a major rezoning in Manhattan or a simple subdivision of a parcel of property in Staten Island, our actions have huge implications for those in and around these neighborhoods. Today, we consider probably the most profound action that we can take, in some ways, the most profound forward-thinking action I have been privileged to consider in my more than 11 years in this commission, mandatory inclusionary housing. There is no question that this proposal will help to change the lives of so many in our communities throughout the city. In many ways, it will help to stabilize, enhance, diversify, but always strengthen the fabric of our neighborhoods, some with lifelong residents, others with residents that have yet to be identified. But no matter how it is viewed, it will play an immense role in providing housing opportunities for residents that cross critical income bands necessary to build solid communities. I know the text and our report outline how the program will work, so it's not necessary to restate all those details. But I do believe it's important to state on the record that as a matter of citywide policy, the mayor's deliberate focus on providing affordable housing throughout the city is not only laudable, it's necessary. The manner in which the requirements are triggered under MIH, the different affordability options that are available for developments, and the options available to debate and discuss the implications and potential burdens are well thought out and respectful of creating a consistent framework for the program, yet with enough flexibility to permit thoughtful consideration of community needs and vision. Although I do express some level of concern for the process which enables the options to change multiple times from application to final approval, they do not create a concern greater than the benefits of having this program in place provides. What is certain, however, is that applicants in future mapped areas, whether the city itself or a private developer, will need to work closely with all other impacted city agencies and the local elected officials to ensure that all lines of communication are open from the start. That certainly will lead to the most successful future for any building and for all of our neighborhoods. I do want to express my thanks to the administration, Deputy Mayor Glenn, Commissioner Bean, their amazing teams at City Hall and HPD, you, Mr. Chairman, and the team here at City Planning for all of the presentations, the responsiveness to questions, and the leadership exhibited through this important public review process. But lastly, I want to thank the public and all of you, my colleagues, for the thoughtful and insightful questions and comments brought to the table, which have gone a long way in my deliberations on this very complicated but exciting proposal. With that said, I vote aye.
Commissioner Delauss?
First, let me start off by adding my thanks to both Department of City Planning staff and HPD staff for their solid work both on MIH and ZQA. We've had an affordable housing crisis in New York City for more than 70 years, and every mayoral administration, excuse me, since Koch has laid out increasingly more aggressive and more comprehensive affordable housing plans to address that crisis and ensure economic diversity in New York City. Mandatory inclusionary housing is an important but not the only tool to promote and ensure economic diversity in New York City. Advocates have been calling on the city to implement comprehensive and proactive anti-harassment and anti-displacement legislation for some time, which is a critically important tool. This is a tool which should be included in follow-up actions. While increasing the overall pool of affordable housing, which MIH will do, should relieve pressure on the real estate market, that is unlikely to happen at the lowest income levels without direct government direction, which is why targeting those incomes is important in MIH. Advocates have been calling on the city to implement mandatory inclusionary housing for more than a decade because it was clear that the real estate market in New York City was strong enough to support both market rate development and deeply and permanently affordable housing in many neighborhoods across the city. While I'm certainly glad that Mayor de Blasio has put forward mandatory inclusionary housing and laid out appropriate mechanisms to ensure that it can withstand legal muster, we can and must do better to ensure a fuller range of economic diversity throughout New York City. The greatest gap between existing supply and need for affordable housing is for families earning below 50% of area median income or less than $41,000 for a family of 4. While the city's income averaging approach put forward in the MIH proposal is absolutely appropriate, it doesn't do enough to guarantee that extremely low and low-income families have access to affordable housing and neighborhoods where greater opportunities exist, something that will go a long way to promoting fair housing in New York City. It is financially feasible in a number of New York City neighborhoods to require a new MIH option that reaches deeper levels of affordability so that more families earning less than $30,000 annually can have access to permanently affordable housing. It is equally important that every MIH option require a certain percentage of units be affordable to extremely low-income families. MIH's goal is promoting economic diversity. Well, let's not stop halfway and leave some families and some communities out. Let's ensure that a greater percentage of lower-income families can benefit from the permanently affordable housing that can be created by MIH. We heard loudly and clearly from communities that they support the concept of MIH, but that we need to ensure that the MIH affordability options available to neighborhoods during future rezonings actually promote affordability at greater depths to address the greatest gap between affordable housing supply and demand. Because the MIH text before us today does not include that option, nor guarantee that every option includes greater depths of affordability. Though we're trending in the right direction, it still doesn't include it. I am going to abstain.
Commissioner Dweck?
Thank you. First off, I would like to thank city planning staff for its hard work, dedication, professionalism, and tireless efforts, and of course, the invaluable input from the communities. I appreciate the text modification being voted on by City Planning Commission that now includes the Department of Housing Preservation and Development in the consultation process with the Board of Standards Appeals to determine appropriate minimum relief that best advances the provision of affordable housing. HPD's involvement is consistent with Brooklyn Borough Board and the recommendation Borough President Adams made in regards to the East New York Community Plan. There are many worthy recommendations issued by Borough President Adams and the Brooklyn Borough Board pertaining to applicability to rent-burdened households, mandating a percentage of units to households with not more than 40% of AMI, having off-site housing qualify as a means to prevent displacement within existing affordable apartments, setting more parameters for what the BSA might offer as financial release, improving bedroom distribution, and extending MIH obligations to units with less than 11 units. I would hope that the City Council seeks to advance the recommendations of the Brooklyn Borough Board. With that in mind, I vote yes.
Commissioner Edie?
Thank you. I'd like to echo the comments of the chair earlier, and I'm pleased to vote yes on this item. It is truly a historic and transformative milestone in New York's effort to create more affordable housing. Also, the public process has been nothing less than remarkable, and I greatly appreciate the time, thoughtfulness that people gave to their comments and written correspondence. I vote yes.
Commissioner Efron?
I want to thank my colleagues on the commission for all of their thoughtful comments. In particular, I'd like to associate myself with the remarks of the chair and the vice chair and enthusiastically vote yes.
Commissioner Knight?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Levin?
I think I first talked about affordable housing in this room when I came to testify before the commission in 2003 about how all inclusionary housing ought to be made permanently affordable. And at that time, we were told that affordable housing was not a land use issue, but was to be handled exclusively by other agencies. My, what a very long distance we have come. While I recognize that there are a number of important issues in the mandatory proposal that could use some tune-up and refinement, many of them alluded to by Commissioners De La Uz and Dweck, I'm pleased with the modifications that have been made so far, and with the Chair's indication that this commission will be supporting restriction of the use of the Affordable Housing Fund to ensure that its maximum opportunity is to be used in the districts where the new affordable housing, where the new market rate housing is being created. It seems to me the trend is in the right direction, and the important thing is to send this on to the council for further refinement and adoption. I vote yes.
Commissioner Marin,
No.
Commissioner Ortiz.
I also would like to associate myself with the comments of our chair and vice chair. And, as a commission, we've heard again and again that we are in an affordability crisis that we can't ignore. It's a crisis that really threatens our city's economic viability if we leave it unaddressed. We've heard that businesses are struggling to retain workers who can't find housing, or workers are traveling hours a day to get to their jobs from far-flung places. This isn't sustainable, and if left unaddressed, compromises our city's ability to provide for people of modest means. MIH, if passed by City Council, will be the most aggressive affordable housing policy in the nation. For many who have expressed concerns, raising questions about affordable for whom, I share those concerns. But MIH provides a floor, not a ceiling, of affordability. The city has made firm commitments to provide the subsidies necessary to achieve lower levels of affordability where it is desperately needed. In a world without MIH, we face a deeper crisis of our own making. It is a crisis whose solution, in my opinion, does not lend itself to a neighborhood-by-neighborhood approach. That frame of reference would make it exceedingly difficult to stimulate supply quickly in the way we need to make a dent in the problem. Instead, we only succeed in making housing more costly to build as developers and city officials negotiate terms on a case-by-case basis. And we create a scenario in which some developers in some communities provide no affordable housing at all. This is the tragedy of the commons writ large. In that scenario, we all lose. Addressing this challenge requires a commitment from all of us, and now, for that reason, I vote yes.
A favorable report as modified has been adopted on calendar number 2. Citywide, calendar number 3, N160049ZRY, in the matter of an application for an amendment of the zoning resolution concerning the zoning for quality and affordability. For a favorable report as modified on calendar number 3, Chairman Weisbrod.
The Department of City Planning has a deep commitment to protecting and enhancing the character of all neighborhoods. We are also interested on identifying opportunities to make them more affordable and more livable, and to proactively respond to the daunting housing crisis facing the entire city. ZQA represents a modest but essential update to our zoning regulations. By updating certain zoning requirements, we can rectify several ways in which current regulations, many drafted a generation ago, have not kept pace with other changing regulations, with the rise of green technologies and other best practices for residential design and construction, and instead have limited both the affordability and design quality of many recent buildings. ZQA is about rationalizing zoning to reduce unnecessary costs to taxpayers and removing obstacles to the creation of affordable and senior housing, while at the same time improving housing quality. It is not an upzoning, and it does not create one additional square foot of market rate housing. With ZQA, the city can more efficiently deploy its public resources to affordable housing to better support the creation of new affordable housing. It will also address the increased and varied needs of our growing senior population and enable them to stay in their communities. Targeted modifications to parking requirements will free up resources to create more affordable housing and senior affordable housing by enabling cost-effective, transit-accessible development. Long waiting lists for senior affordable housing are a universal and disturbing reality of today's housing crisis. And to our knowledge, no waiting lists exist for off-street parking in affordable housing. Limited additional height, no more than 1 or 2 stories in over 95% of cases, will be permitted so developers can fit in the additional floor area they are allowed when providing affordable senior housing or inclusionary housing in areas that have already been designated for it, and so that we don't leave affordable housing on the table when developments occur there. Our commitment to contextual zoning will be even stronger so that residential buildings can be more in keeping with neighborhood character, with facade articulation, courtyards, and other elements that provide visual variety and enliven the pedestrian experience. Design quality does not need to be sacrificed in order to achieve housing affordability. With smarter zoning, we can achieve both more affordable and higher quality buildings. We have been listening to those on the ground, the communities across New York City's 5 boroughs. In each and every neighborhood, the elements of ZQA were analyzed, discussed, debated. We provided detailed and tailored information to each community board so that they could understand how ZQA would affect their neighborhoods and make targeted recommendations as part of the land use review process. In response to these early conversations, we refined the proposals even before public review began by reducing the additional height initially proposed for buildings in medium-density districts, by making the additional extra 5 feet of height available only to buildings providing taller ground floors that could accommodate neighborhood retail and provide privacy to first-floor residents. Throughout the process, we heard support for the general goals of promoting affordable housing and better buildings, but there were concerns about specific provisions and unease about allowing changes outside the context of a neighborhood-specific project or proposal. This, after all, is the first time in many years that a major citywide text amendment on issues of such breadth and importance has been proposed. We have weighed the issues, acknowledged the tensions between affordability and additional height to accommodate it, and between reinforcing the context of neighborhoods while allowing for modest change. We made adjustments to the proposal that we believe strike the right balance to ensure that neighborhoods provide both the quality of life our residents deserve, as well as opportunities for New Yorkers to afford to live there. And so we have made a series of changes where they are most needed in response to the comments we've received, by requiring a special permit for all long-term care facilities in single-family districts, by tightening up provisions that enable common areas within rear yards on narrow streets, by maintaining the traditional wide and narrow street height differentials in high-density contextual zones. ZQA is the result of a department-wide and city-wide effort with over 100 staff members involved, and I want to thank chiefly Frank Ricala, Chris Hayner, Laura Smith, Kiyoshi Yamazaki, Stacy Passmore, John Mangan, Samantha Kleinfeld, Naaman Freeman, as well as, always, Howard Slatkin, Eric Kober, Beth Leibowitz, Bob Debruskin, and Everin Kukar. And I especially want to thank, in this context, a person who rarely gets credit for all she does, but is really an amazing secret weapon in city planning, Danielle DeSerbo, as well as DCP's amazing executive director, Purnima Kapoor, and the entire rest of the executive office, and many, many more, too numerous to name. If we are going to address our profound housing challenges and maintain the greatness of our city and its neighborhoods, we need our zoning to be more flexible and responsive. Our ambition is for all of us to make all of New York a better place to live, to preserve what works and improve what doesn't, and I vote yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
I think the changes proposed in ZQA are both thoughtful and precise, and I especially appreciate the department's response to the critique that we received around the proposal and the changes that the chair just outlined in response to that critique. I vote yes.
Commissioner Besser?
Borough President Otto has expressed concerns throughout this process. First, incompatible development in R1 and R2 districts, and also inadequate off-street parking in new independent senior developments in R1 through R6 districts. The Borough President believes that focusing on solutions and additional oversight is fair and reasonable. We are pleased that the issue of long-term care facilities development in R1 and R2 districts in the LDGMA in the Borough of Staten Island will now require a DCP special permit approval. We would like to thank Chair Weisbrod and the department for recognizing this concern and addressing it. However, the BP asked for the following modification to the ZQA zoning text, that the current parking requirements for affordable independent residences for seniors outside the transit zone in the LDGMA in the Borough of Staten Island be maintained. The proposed reduction to 10% of the total dwelling units in an affordable independent residence for seniors can be incorporated through a BSA special permit approval. This format will guarantee parking or require project program to clearly articulate the need for granting a special permit. This process will address potentially inadequate parking scenarios through a public process while still providing an option to reduce requirements to 10% of dwelling units where warranted. I agree with this outstanding modification, and I vote no.
Commissioner Cantor?
I'd like to once again reiterate the points I made before. I'd like to once again thank the chair, especially the way he puts forward the positives and the negatives equally fairly. And finally, I don't know how much of the public realizes when we are commenting and applauding the staff here, it's not just de rigueur. It's because of the extremely difficult job they had and the wonderful effort they did put in. And that's not a 9 to 5 effort. That's an around-the-clock effort. So once again, I thank them all, and I will continue to vote no.
Commissioner Cerullo?
Well, I also begin with the same extension of thanks for the entire team of officials and the public who worked so hard to form this proposal and craft the outcome that we are considering today. The level of attention this has been given by everyone involved in this public review process has truly been unprecedented. With that said, it's difficult to argue against a proposal that describes itself as facilitating the creation of new affordable housing and senior care facilities, assists in the more effective deployment of scarce public resources devoted to affordable housing, and encourages better designed residential buildings in our neighborhoods. Needless to say, I can't. However, that's not to say that in a proposal as broad in spectrum as this, with more than a majority of provisions that clearly go a long way in accomplishing these goals, that there aren't some issues that I wish had been dealt with at this juncture in the process. While I believe this proposal will go a long way in helping to build more attractive and engaging buildings and improve the physical environment of the neighborhoods they are in, while also providing new opportunities in improving the quality of life for our city's seniors and those with longer-term care-related issues, there are a couple of items that, while not fatal to this proposal for me, they are ones I believe should be mentioned, and ones I hope the City Council will contemplate as this process continues. We heard from many speakers, including several borough presidents, and even thoughts expressed by some of us here around this dais during the process about the impact ZQA will have on lower density districts with respect to the future development of senior affordable housing. The liberalization of height limits, while serving a very important goal for those who will call the developments home, also has the potential to significantly alter the existing character of lower density communities, something we typically work on all the time to help to protect. Further, we heard how the reduction in parking provided by this proposal may have detrimental impacts in some neighborhoods throughout the city. While I am very much aware that many of the issues raised reflect in some cases confusion about how and when the reduction applies, which in fact means that the impacts are far less than feared, I do hope that the council will take a look at these issues further and help to provide greater assurances to those communities with the greatest concerns and work to resolve them. With that said, I vote aye.
Commissioner Delauss?
Affordable and senior housing developers and advocates, as well as architects, have been indicating for years that the existing building envelope rules, affordable and senior housing parking requirements, and overall definitions for senior housing need to be updated to reflect current needs and trends so that we can meet the pressing need for senior and affordable housing and to improve the overall quality of that housing. The text before us and the modifications that have been made by CPC do advance those goals. CQA tries to strike a balance between removing unnecessary and outdated zoning and parking rules which are hampering the development of quality, affordable, and senior housing, and respecting neighborhood context. Unfortunately, based on the text currently before us, it does that without a mechanism for ongoing community consultation into how that balance is actually achieved. I fully appreciate what the de Blasio administration is trying to achieve and clean up with ZQA, but believe that affordable housing and senior projects benefit from community consultation and, quite honestly, community buy-in. I hope that the City Council includes a provision in future ZQA text that includes community board consultation achieving that delicate balance. We all benefit when a greater number of New York City's civic-minded residents fully understand the trade-offs inherent in developing affordable and senior housing and achieving other community priorities. Given the lack of that provision at this time, I'm going to abstain.
Commissioner Dweck?
Thank you. Again, I would like to thank city planning staff for its hard work and dedication and tireless efforts. I appreciate that the final EIS now includes an alternative that reduces the height of affordable independent residences for seniors and long-term care facilities from 65 feet to 45 feet for R3-2 and R4 districts. It is important that we respect the balance between creating affordable senior housing opportunities and local concerns of contextual development. This change in the FEIS is generally consistent with the Brooklyn Borough Board's recommendations. I hope that the City Council concurs with Borough President Adams and the Borough Board's recommended height of 45 feet in an R4 district. Additionally, I would hope that the Council further reduces 35 feet in the R3-2 district. There are many worthy recommendations issued by the Brooklyn Borough Board pertaining to appropriate as-of-right use, height, floor area, and parking that unfortunately are not reflected on what the Commission is being asked to adopt today. There is room for improvement, and I hope that the City Council seeks to advance the recommendations of the Brooklyn Borough Board. Overall, the proposal is a step forward in the right direction for the City of New York, and with that in mind, I vote yes.
Commissioner Edie?
Thanks again. Once again, I'd like to echo, the comments of the chair and vice chair, and I'm very pleased to vote yes on this item. In addition to my earlier comments, which also apply here, I would wish to thank the staff greatly for the hard work they've put into this matter and to craft, modify, share, explain these incredibly complex texts. I vote yes.
Commissioner Efron?
I'd like to echo several of the commissioners, all of the commissioners' thanks to the staff, the public, the advocates who had a very important role in this process, and I vote yes.
Commissioner Knight?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Levin?
You know, it's been very easy for all of us to get buried in the avalanche of details in zoning for quality and affordability, and really hard to crawl out of the morass and see this from the 30,000-foot level. We heard about the complexities at the public hearing. I experienced it by attending a community board's consideration of this. This is really hard stuff for a community to figure out and for the public to figure out because it includes so many details. But in my own mind, I reached a degree of clarity this weekend when reading through our draft report and all 93 pages of it. And I am persuaded that the goals of this proposal are fundamentally correct and important. Moreover, I think our report accurately reflects and captures and acknowledges and respects the tensions and trade-offs that are involved in many of the items here, and I'm particularly pleased that the chair highlighted, recognized those trade-offs in this process. There's no clear right answer here, and there are important elements that need to be worked on. Once again, Commissioner Delauze has highlighted the issue that I'm most concerned about. But there have been some very important modifications made at this point in the process, and I know that the additional modifications that I think need to be made are on the City Council's list, and I vote yes.
Commissioner Marin?
No.
Commissioner Ortiz?
I also would like to thank the staff. This has been an incredible effort on their part, and it's really been an honor to participate in this discussion. It truly has. You feel the sense of this historic moment. You know, as Commissioner Levin mentioned, all of these things come with trade-offs, and we have really attempted to listen. I hope that's what people have sensed through this effort and through our hearings. And I really would like to say that this process is an amazing process to participate in, and I hope others are in agreement with that. And with respect to ZQA, I'm particularly pleased to see that this plan provides flexibility. That's so important, and from my perspective, with respect to the ground floor retail, the ability to have adequate floor-to-floor will really make a difference in terms of our ability to fill spaces and make communities and maintain them as vibrant. And so I'd like to vote yes. Thank you.
A favorable report as modified has been adopted on calendar number 3.
And Madam Secretary, just before you continue with the calendar, I just really would like to take this moment to thank all of my fellow commissioners for the care, the thought, whether they voted yes, whether they voted no, whether they abstained. Every commissioner here put in an incredible amount of time, thought, guidance, and judgment. And to me, this was a really profound example of the best that our political system and our land use system really offers, and it's a tribute to all of them, and I thank them. So.
Okay. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 4, CD4, C150168, PQK, in the matter of an application for the acquisition of property concerning Early Life Center 9 and Roundtable Senior Center. For a favorable report on calendar number 4, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Besser, Commissioner Cantor, Commissioner Cerullo, Commissioner Delauze,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Edie, Commissioner Efron,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight, Commissioner Levin.
I really want to commend the staff for, I really like the paragraph we've added in this report and the following report about the continued importance of this commission's oversight of the quality of the daycare and senior centers that we're providing across the city. I vote yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 4. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 5, CD 13, C150262, PQK, in the matter of an application for the acquisition of property concerning the Coney Island Family Head Start 1. For a favorable report on calendar number 5, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauze.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 5. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 6, CD2, N160127, PXK, in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for use of property located at 1 Pierpont Plaza, Law Department. For a favorable report on calendar number 6, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo. Commissioner Delauze.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie. Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 6. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 7, CD3, N160134HKK, in the matter of a communication regarding the landmark designation of the Bedford Historic District. On the adoption of calendar number 7 for referral to the City Council. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes, and I really want to congratulate the civic leaders on the ground who shepherded this through many years, and I vote yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 7 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 8, CD1, N160118PXM, in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for use of property located at 375 Pearl Street. For a favorable report on calendar number 8, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 8. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 9, CD1, N160119PXM, in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for use of property located at 123 William Street. For a favorable report on calendar number 9, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin, Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 9. Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 10, CD10, N160131PXX, in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for use of property located at 2500 Halsey Street. For a favorable report on calendar number 10, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 10. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 11, CD3, N150259RCR, in the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 30 Newton Street. For adoption on calendar number 11, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo. Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin. Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 11 has been adopted. That is it.
Is there a supplemental calendar?
That is, no, we did that.
Supplemental calendar?
No, that was mentioned in the beginning, scheduling.
So, Madam Secretary, is there any additional matters to be brought before us?
No, Chairman
today.
Weisbrod.
Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. I never heard such an enthusiastic motion in my life.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Ms. Besser probably wants to stay for a couple more weeks. We are adjourned, and I thank you all, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you. Congratulations.